Dead Poets Society. That was my school. When I was a tween, I lived Dead Poets Society. All boys, chapel, choir. The headmaster used to cane boys by having them place their head underneath a table and then with a long stick attach it to their behind in rapid succession. And then if they butted their head, they would slam it up against the top of the desk, and that would hit their head. So you would have to actually stay still while you were naughty. But my friend Alan was always naughty. And at 12, we were not really into science. It was not the top of our priority. But nevertheless, all of us had to attend science class. Specifically, we had to attend Mr. Guthrie's science class, who, in a very nasally voice, would always be, "Okay, boys, now, today, we're going to pull out your Bunsen burners." Although, Bunsen burners was actually quite a good thing, because that was fire, and that really wasn't science, it was fire. "Okay, boys, and this right here, this is called a Petri dish. And this right here, boys, this is called potassium." Okay, it's pretty boring. "Now, boys, if you take this piece of potassium," and he proceeded to pull out a stick of it. He had gloves on, by the way. "And you put it here on the counter. And you very carefully cut the piece of potassium," as he slivered a slice of potassium. "You add some H2O, boys. Do you know what that is?" "Yes, Mr. Guthrie, we got H2O. We know what that is." "And you take this small slice of potassium and you put it in the Petri dish. And then you put it on your Bunsen burner." At which point, for any of you who have ever taken a chemistry class, the potassium, this tiny piece of potassium, proceeds to it like just turned the small glass of potassium, the potassium and the water in this Petri dish, shot around, and it was like an entire explosion in this tiny Petri dish. Well, needless to say, at 12, this was the coolest freaking thing we had ever seen, ever. And Alan, being the man that he is, or the boy, wanting to be a man, immediately recognized an opportunity. And so, as Mr. Guthrie was proceeding to explain the benefits of potassium and the uses of potassium, and he snuck gently across, grabbed the container, which is a very big container, removed the stick of potassium, which, by the way, was in an oil, because when potassium actually contacts regular air, it starts to burn. We didn't know that. Neither did Alan. And he takes the stick of potassium and he shoves it in his pants for later use. What Alan didn't really put together is that he'd been playing on the playground that day and been generating some lower H2O of his own, mixed with some proximity heat of where this stick of potassium was for later use. And of course, it immediately activated the potassium. And now Alan slowly started to realize that he had a burning sensation in his pocket. As Mr. Guthrie proceeded to talk, Alan realized that he needed to go to the bathroom now. Sir, I need to go to the bathroom. No. Anyway, sir, I really need to go to the bathroom. And at that point, Alan leapt up from his desk in full thick wool tweed shorts, Dead Poet Society glory, and ran down the hallway, powering down this hallway. He took a skidding right turn right in front of the headmaster, who was coming the other way, and the headmaster did one of these in slow motion. As the boy slid around the corner into the bathroom, ran into the stall, flung down his pants, because he really didn't know what was going on, took his pants and slammed them down in the toilet. Let us review Mr. Guthrie's lesson. This sound familiar? H2O. The entire bathroom stall blew up, exploded in dramatic sensation as the headmaster managed to round the corner only to see Alan naked, looking very pathetic. But we had a story. Years later, I returned to South Africa, and we went to this bar. We were now adult men, kind of. We were waiting in line for a club. Now, you all know what's going on in South Africa right now. It's a pretty dangerous place, and most people are armed. Well, Alan was standing in line. He said, "Hey, Rob, look what I have." And he pulled out a jar with a stick of potassium, and there was a fountain right in front of the club. Sure enough, we ducked into the bush, lobbed the stick of potassium. It landed in the fountain and proceeded to do Mr. Guthrie's experiment once again, except it gave off a loud banging noise. And we were greeted with like every gun you can imagine pointed at us. So we didn't learn much from our tweens, but we still had two good stories. Yeah.